Welcome back, everybody. It's Creative Redundancy back again, the one known as CR. And as you can tell by both the banner and my channel icon that I have specifically for the stream slash avatar, however you want to say it, this stream is the live with CR, PREP, chit chat with you all, the people out there, reconnecting with you people out there on this planet. Because PREP matters to all of us. I'll be sharing some examples, things that I do around here, all right, and stuff like that. And like I said, it all matters. Now, while I wait for some people to drop in here, just to make sure my phone's charging here. Okay, 62. I gotta make sure the phone's charging, all right? What's up, Dale? Matthew? What's up? And I share some things, like I said. Let's see some of the passion of the things that I do. If there's anyone that actually knows me or talks to me knows how I am. It's just the way I am. Not perfect, but I do what I can. Yes, happy Wednesday. Let's see. Error. I'll bring that CR in there, right? Recurring theme that I like to cover a lot. Yeah, okay. It's all good. So I have the daydreaming playing in the background so I can actually hear it. Just making some coffee in the background. And apparently my wind up radio is dead. I better charge this up. Let me just crank some power into this. Yeah, I gotta crank some power into this. Not getting much of solar energy right now. It's actually cloudy out today. Although I can see the disk of the sun, surprisingly, as I look south right now outside. So hopefully everyone's doing well. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed the previous day. Hopefully it wasn't too scary. But on a more serious note, let's see, who do I have in there? Hi, Idaho Garden Girl. I see you all in there. Let me just... Hi. So yeah, and this is the chit chat of my PREP stream. Apparently my water's boiling. Turn off the heater. Like I said, I'm making coffee here. Yeah, see, coffee. I like my coffee. Everyone knows that. So this is a PREP stream here. People, resources, environment, and preparedness, as the thumbnail has shown. All right. And the reason why I bring this back into the fold again is because I've been watching stuff out there, things that have been going on. Not just recently, but has been kind of, for lack of a better word, on the radar, hanging around and such. Just pouring my coffee here. Just give me a moment here. I don't have a separate device to see the side chat right now, so can't quite see it from here. Just making some filtered coffee here. Let's see. Coffee. Well, okay, that's water, but honestly, water is important. Water is an important resource, right? If anything, store water so you can have that cup of joe, that tea, that hot brew, whatever it is of choice, especially since winter's coming around the corner relatively shortly. And for some of us, we're already have or are experiencing snow or colder temperatures right now. So now's the perfect time, if you haven't already, to get ready for it and be proactive towards the situation. Because you might just need some of those things, such as a mitt. You'll also get some coffee too. I hope, girl. Iron Fire Horse. See you in there, Julie. Welcome, welcome. So yeah, so something like this mitt that I have here. Form cover right here. You know, CR. It's got CR in it too. One of the one of 10 C's of survivability. All right. It's an important resource. All right. A mitt. You know, I get it. I get it that this is synthetic. This is polyester nylon, plastic, oil. All right. All right. And I know those videos out there that go kind of viral out there. The stop oil thing and all that stuff, right? And then they're related into the environmental side of things, right? Those resources, right? But stuff like that, you gotta remember people too, right? Right? The resources are important. Don't get me wrong, right? The environment's important. Don't get me wrong. So is the people, right? The people out there, right? You know, POing people to get your message across isn't always the answer at times, right? Like I've seen many of those videos. I actually binge watching for some of them, right? It's quite disturbing at times, let's just say. Not in terms of let's just say blocking the way, let's just say it like that, or quote unquote vandalism, or something along the lines of that, or the inconvenience of it. But the major thing that I've noticed in those is that, well, let's just say a word that starts this escalation of emotional cueing curse words and all this stuff, right? Like it's up home with Antarctica. Prep for it. I see you both in there. How are you both doing, by the way? I'm gonna see if I can actually not use this CC word here. But you know that might change. Let me just check my side chat real quick here. Okay. All right. I'm just reading the chat real quick. Well, prep for it. Of course, you would. It's part of your channeling. Let me just highlight that from Iron Fire Horse. Yeah, that too, right? It's hard to get alternatives or quote unquote something more sustainable or environmentally friendly at times, right? You know, some of us people out there are just scraping by. Yes, I just used the CR word in there, right? Some of us are just scraping by, just trying to make ends meet, as they say. I know some of you out there, right? I follow, homeless in America's in here. What's up, Jay? By the way, right? It's kind of it's kind of hard when you're, trying to make ends meet yourself, right? I mean, I'm not perfect, all right? I'm not the perfect preparedness guy. I'm not a perfect quote unquote environmentalist, right? All right. Like, look, I have a I have a plastic glove. Might as well be a plastic glove on the screen, right? That's made from oil, right? But you know what I also do? I also reuse. Right, let's take that off the table here. Here's a here's a plastic piece of cordage right here with a CR in it, right? Zipper chains in it. It's been braided from a bag that I found off the landscape, off the environmental landscape out there on one of my walks. And instead of it being tossed or that resource being landfilled right away, I'm reusing it for a little bit longer, keeping it in the loop and cycling it back in and recovering that resource once again with a CR in it. Let's see, the bigger problem is all those people that have one in every color to go to many with their many skis. Yeah, well. I'm not even gonna go dive into the fast fashion thing, all right. Like you can go see the labels on the tags out there and stuff, right? You know. Now, personally, I haven't had the need to extensively buy new clothes because, well, my size hasn't changed that much. For anyone that knows me in the real world or talk to me behind the scenes, in private chats and all that stuff, it hasn't changed that much for me. So I pretty much like wear things out. I don't necessarily outgrow them or stretch them out or whatever, right? But I also realize that I try, even if things are kind of torn, there's a hole or whatever, I'll try to mend them and sew them back together and bring them back into useful state. Even something like this, which I've shown before on the channel. Here's an item right here. I found this in the snow in the winter back in 2022, probably in December of 2022. I found this bag before it was I did something to this and sewed it and found that button that's on the screen right now and converted it with a CR, recovered it with a CR back into a useful state again, right? Yes, it's made of plastic, petroleum oil, all right? But this is one less item in the trash right away. And I reused it. And it'll help my general preparedness because now it's a container that I can use. I see you, Farmer Son. I see you in there. I'm just making sure I don't miss anything in here real quick. Yeah. Right? Because it's ass style or whatever, right? Stick with things that are like timeless, right? As much as possible, right? I remember this one time I was over at my friend's place, right? And their daughter had this, I think it was a Frozen or something like that, little purse or whatever. It was, the zipper was ripped on it in terms of the stitching, right? Well, I mended it back together with some sewing needle that I had on me, all right? Canvas needle, right? 1 to 10 C's, right? As they say, right? The thread? I couldn't find any thread. I reused something that I could use this thread to make it work, all right, on the spot, all right. So, and again, that resource then potentially, at least not yet, get landfilled, right? Because that's the thing about something that's ripped, torn, or something like that. For the most part, people, I'm being a little bit more general about it, will kind of toss it, unfortunately, right? There is ways to reuse these items, right? And keep them at the landfill a little bit longer. Let me see here. Okay. Let me see here. They give the government and are you going to go clean up? Yeah, okay. I see Iron Fire Horse. Oh, just wait, Iron Fire Horse. I'll continuously rant her. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah. You catch up to the treasure. Yeah. Good morning, farmer son. FSP. Yeah, sewing is a good skill to have, right? That's a good skill to have. All right. Keep the clothes, the things that you have in good working condition. All right. Things happen, right? Rips happen. You get snagged on something like that. All right. With some some thread, a sewing needle, which most people can get access to. I say most people, right? You can bend the materials back together and give it a little bit more life. All right. And keep the resource going as long as possible, right? Especially if you bought this said item, right? Wouldn't it be nice to know you bought this $10 pair of pants, would just say, right? You know, it ripped within the first year somewhere, and you managed to mend it because the rip wasn't too bad. You barely, with some skill, some gear like thread and needle, and you're able to stitch it back together. I think I just used that as a pun and a metaphor and literally right there. But you're literally putting it back together, right? You know, I'm wearing something right here, right? If there was a rib right here, right? But if I mended that back together, stitched it back together using, back stitches, I don't know, even some running stitches. If you don't know how to sew all too well, or maybe you're more advanced and you can do some back stitches or a ladder or invisible stitch, right? You can bring it back into a useful state. Because I know it's possible, because I've seen what I've been able to do. Like look at this. Like I said, that I found in the snow, like I said, alright. And the funny thing is, it was by a dumpster, like probably like 20 feet away, alright. Like a garbage can, alright. So and like I said, instead of that resource being landfilled necessarily right away, it got reused. Hell, even the button, I found this on the side of the road. This button, I was just like looking at it, like I said in that video. I'm like, oh, look at that! It's almost like it was always meant to be, right? So, like, even much of the thread that I used was reclaimed thread. So pretty much, I brought these resources, abundance on the side of the road, a reusable bag that was torn up, not in a useful state. You can carry anything in it anymore. Some thread that I had either laying around or from something else, which I've shown about the free thread. So FREEETHREAD video, which I've shown before on the channel too. I brought all these things together back into useful state and combined them back together again. Just like in some of the streams I do about combination mode, right? That's but I did it for real, right? Now that's combination mode is a fun exercise, right? But I do it in the real world, right? I try to do it as much as possible, bring these resources together and put them back into a useful state as much as possible. All right, I know I'm falling behind on the chat. Thank you, Farmer Son. I feel like I'm really behind. You could always say truthfully. I see you. I see Iron Fire Horse. Make sure I don't. Refresher. What's up, KP? How are you doing? I know him. Hey, Baba. Shalom. How are you doing? How are you doing, my friend? Like I said, people throw out a load of stuff that is possible to get reused with skill, right? With tools to gear, right? I mean, there's a resource right here I've shown before. That's exactly the same container that I used in the peanut butter jar container video, but it's very similar, all right? As you can see, I've had some stuff in here, apparently, right? Yeah, I get it. It's plastic, right? It's plastic, right? Made from oil, right? Probably be better if it was glass, a jar, right? I get that. But that's what I had access to at that time. And, you know, this whole, remember, reusing will always come first before recycling or recovery, right? Reusing stuff. Also try to reduce whenever possible, right? But some of these resources we do need access to because they're important, right? Like the peanut butter that was in that peanut butter container as caloric intake, right? Food, right? Food's important when it comes to preparedness, right? You know, it's probably one of the main pillars, I guess, right? Food, water, some sort of cover shelter, right? Among some other things out there that are important too. Yeah, you think everyone should be taught sewing now? Yeah, I get that. I get that. What's up, BB? How's it going, man? Yeah, I kind of forgot the key in there. That's okay. It's okay. Hey, Garner, how are you doing, man? Virtual fist bump to you, people out there. Yes, you people out there that are important, right? Yeah, see, I have my coffee here. Oh, by the way, I've had this mug right here in my hands for a long time. That dent or chip right there was part of it. I got this for like probably $1 at a store that was closing out, right? You know, unfortunately, it doesn't exist anymore. Even the location doesn't exist anymore. Right? I've had it for a long, long time. It's older than the channel. It's older than the previous channel that I've said I've had before. It's that old, right? So for $1, I've made good use of it. It's seen many liquids inside of it, from water to some sort of juice or whatever, electrolyte mix or whatever, to coffee. So I've made this resource right here stretch and get used very, very, very well. Okay, Iron Fire Horse, I see that comment in there. I see you in there, Prep for it. I see you. Oh, I see Joe's coming in for on the secondary channel. Girl Bait TV. Courtney. Look forward to seeing the content, by the way. And CNY Dibs, not Dibs. What's up? I see Julie's been stretching those clothes to make them keep going for a while, especially if these are kind of like neutral colors, no logos or anything like that. You know, can stand the test of time, right? Can keep on going, for example. Yeah, I guess you are. And I see Fort Haven 4 is in the house. What is up, man? How's it going? I remember some of the videos that you posted, alright? I do. I can still picture it in my head, Fort Haven. Iron Flowers. Let's see. So, okay. I am falling behind on the chat. So you're on your fourth cup. Oh, you got t-shirts older than me, than you, or us, or whatever you want, however you want to say it. NCNY Debs. Jeez, I gotta stop saying dibs. There's something in there. Okay. Well, try to reuse the stuff as much as possible. And of course, like, I'm not saying hoard, right? However, try to use stuff as much as possible. And you know what's awesome right now? I'm getting some solar energy right now. Which is perfect because I can recharge some of these solar lights that I have right now. Yes, I've been using these solar lights. Yes, these were bought. Of course, there's plastic inside. There's, metals inside that had to be mined and stuff like that. But I'm using it and hopefully get more than a few years out of it, right? I'm still working on the first year because I literally only got them earlier in the year. So I'm still working on using them more frequently, right? But right now they're charging in the sun right now in front of me, and kind of well, literally solar power, like literally, right? Literally, and stuff like this. Like, look, okay, this environmentalism side, yeah, solar, okay, yeah. Well, also helps on the preparedness side, right? You know, you know, such as like being out of power, blackout, right? I can use them at least for the lighting purposes, right? I can put them in a washroom that doesn't have a window, or at night, be able to see what I'm doing still, right? So I'm not tripping and falling and stumbling and stubbing my toe and making the situation worse and reacting to it instead of being proactive to it. You met David Suzuki, well known for the nature of things, right? He's retired from the show though. Yeah. Do you? You're a shining light example of that, right? Iron Fire Horse. I see how however serious I am, I'm still making a joke or a dad joke or whatever in there. Fort Haven's probably like the NCR. Yeah, I wish I had some more too. What was it? Like I said, I've been trying this stuff out. It came in a pack of 4, you know. But just say, for example, it was a pack of 4, $40, whatever, $10 a solar light, right? If I can make that resource, yes, resource stretch, let's just say till the end of the decade, let's just say 7 years, that's like $1 a year, or $1.30, give or take, right? A year, right? Especially if the battery itself, I can keep it going, right? So I'm very fortunate to have some sunlight come through right now. It's to get some solar energy to recharge these, right? Yeah, I get it. It's like winter-ish time right now, so we'll see how long it can go for. And of course, I got some extra rechargeable batteries to go with it. You know, it's a CR word right there, right? And batteries, I'll even show the batteries too. Because I'm recharging a different set, right? Here's the example of the batteries that came with it, right? And speak of which, now I'll show. It's not exactly the exact same one that I've found. I'm charging it right now. Well, actually, you know what? I'll just show it. Why not? Here is a battery right here that I found by a dumpster. And look, regardless of the brand or whatever, look, it's rechargeable. I found this by a dumpster when I was visiting a friend this one time. All right. I heard people out there, not saying you guys or whatever, some people out there would just pass by it. But when I saw it, I'm like, you know what? This is a rechargeable battery. Let's see if it works, right? I brought it back home, brought out a multimeter. There was a little bit of charge in it. I'm like, okay, let's see if it recharges. I can get it back up to maximum 1.2 volts of power using these solar lights, for example, to recharge it in a day. And now I'm using it right now. I found that back in like, when was it? 2017, I think. 2016, 2017, around there, right? And like I said, it was just like, so instead of that resource getting ran over by a vehicle, ended up in the dumpster, ended up in a landfill, it's getting reused and helping me. So if you think about it, I just helped the environment just a little bit more and help my preparedness a little bit more. And it wasn't even an inconvenience. I just happened to have good timing, right? Stroke of luck, right? You know, on my rarity scale, I consider it as a 3 or 4 because it's something I don't usually find and it's useful. I just had to double check it, right? Check to see if it was still working and running and powered up and recharge and all this stuff. And I know I'm falling behind on the chat slightly here. So. Okay. Yeah, it's exactly our powers. It has its place. Alright? Yeah, ecosystems is. Yeah. Candles, man, lots of them. Yeah. I don't have the example nearby and see why Debs, but I remember this one time when I was walking. I think I still have it. I think it's in the server. Hold on. I know I still have it. I just cannot find it right now. I got to put it off to the side or something like that. But oh no! I see it right here. I'll show you guys. Here's an example right here. Oh shit, you guys. I'll just bring it into frame. But right here. Here's a candle right here. And yes, there's a price tag on the bottom because it came from Goodwill, apparently. Alright, which I won't show. Well, thrift store, secondhand store, right? I've seen some better days though, but this is still useful, right? It's not like there's no wick inside. It's not like, or whatever, right? And it was just on the side of the road, like literally on the side of the road, probably where the sidewalk meets the road, right? It was just like looking at it, I'm like, so I brought it back. So that's a useful resource right there. So again, because if it got ran over by a vehicle, it probably would have been toast, right? So instead of being wasted, I don't put it back into a useful state. So if I ever need access to a candle or have to use one, I could go use that one and feel, and use that resource, right? A resource that I didn't have to buy, right? Right? Like, I know it's not really CO2 and all this stuff, don't get me wrong, right? But it's either, but if I need to use that candle, I'd rather use one that I found, right? I didn't have to buy a new one, right? I didn't have to go to a dollar store or some candle shop or whatever to go buy one necessarily right away. Crisco candles, yeah, yeah. All right, Pepper. I'll see you around. All right. Yeah, the Crisco candle thing. Yeah, I've heard about that too. See you grow big. There, Joe. Okay, NT. You got some backups. Yeah. You were using beeswax candles. Yeah, okay. Oh, look at that. I actually made it back to the bottom of the chat here. I did read and scan through what you guys and people said out there, right? But I mean, there's an example, right? A couple examples of stuff, right? Wait. We the CR on screen here, right? But yeah, I mean, I hear this kind of, what's the point? I'm paraphrasing a little, you know, this whole, I'm just one person, right? In the grand scheme of things, yeah. I get that, right? I get that. You know, what's the point? And if I got all this solar, they're burning all this stuff over here, or whatever, right? Well, what? Some things out there start. Let's just say, I'm just gonna use the phrase individual effort, right? Right. Lead by example, right? Like, I understand that people want to have their voice heard, have their message said, heard on media, social media, TV, etc., etc. So it stays in the news, and there's a CR word. I'm gonna use coverage. All right, I get that, right? I get that. But what are you doing? I'm asking this as a general question, not only to my viewers out there, but to myself. But what are you doing in your own area, regardless if it's rural or suburban or urban or anywhere in between, work, school, in your vehicle, right? On your bicycle, right? What are you doing to improve the situation and improve your overall stance on it, right? Are you, I mean, like I said, I'm not a perfect person, far from it, right? I do what I can, right? I mean, like, here's a piece of, like I said, there was a piece of plastic right there, because of stuff right there, right? And yes, there is these places that you can go get, bring in a jar, get a refill of shampoo, conditioner, peanut butter, etc., etc., right? Where it's bought in bulk, right? Great. But you have to have access to it. You have to be able to get there, right? Or get that resource back to you, right? Some people out there do not have access to that, right? So they have to get by with everything. Unfortunately, maybe something like this, right? Where they would like to be more equal friendly, but unfortunately, they don't have access to it, for whatever reason, because they have to take public transportation. It doesn't exist in their town. They don't know where it is. It's more expensive or something along the lines of that. And just, you know, do what you can, right? Right? Because, like I said, PREP matters to all of us in the long run and in the short term, too. So do what you can. I'll catch you later, Julie. Let me see here. Let me highlight that. Yeah, you're just one person, but everyone start doing one thing and then adding over time, it would make a big difference and make progress at it. Yes, exactly. I hope Garden Girl. Exactly, right? Make progress at it, right? Lead by example. Like I said, I've seen those. I am going to quote unquote block the path here, right? And hold up my sign. I've seen these videos, right? All right, countless different channels out there, news, right? People out there, right? And I get their message, right? Right? I get their message, right? But I also realize that, there's also consequences to this kind of action too, right? Right? And sometimes, how far am I in this video? Well, all right, 42 minutes, whatever. Quote unquote, pissing someone off doesn't always get your message across, right? Angering someone doesn't get your message across all the time, right? Because I know it's an emotional response, right? But sometimes getting, ticked off about something makes you not want to engage with it, right? Because you've had bad feelings about it, right? Now, sometimes it can help, don't get me wrong, or it can work, right? That might as well just, it's like the fear mongering on the preparedness side of it. It might as well just be like that, right? To a certain degree, it can work, but, in my opinion, right? Just my honest opinion, JMHO, right? There needs to be, if you're not to go do that stuff, right? Regardless of if it's my viewers here, me, myself, or whatever, I also realize you gotta, how would I say this? If you're gonna do something destructive, do something constructive too, right? Add back in, right? Motivate people, not through just that, but through something else, and lead by example, right? Right? Alright? Like, I don't know the whole story, obviously, I'm just only seeing a certain, very narrow point of view of it right now, right? I don't know these people personally, right? Never talked to them or whatever, right? But I would hope, yes, hope, having optimistic people everywhere kind of hope type of actor, because you know how much I like CR words, right? I would hope that it's not the only thing that they do, right? And I know some of them out there it's not the only thing they do, right? Some there are vegetarian or whatever. I get that, right? I'm more an omnivore, right? I'm an omnivore, all right? Nothing wrong with being vegetarian, right? There are people that are vegetarian. I would never judge them because they're like that, right? And just like how I would never judge anyone because they consume animal protein. Let's just say it like that, right? But I also realize that there's still there's still people, right? People not just with lives, but that they have their own issues, their own stuff that they have to deal with, because they still have to make ends meet, right? Some of those people are just scraping by and just trying to get through, right? Right? Metaphorically speaking, paycheck to paycheck or day to day, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so unfortunately, we gotta remember. Yeah, exactly. I don't have garden girl, right? I mean, I would like to have more solar out there, more, lithium power or something like that, right? But I also realize that stuff has to be mined, right? That stuff has to be pulled out of the ground, right? And usually what happens for mining, depending where it is, where those locations are, I'm talking about mining in general, the environment above it has to be disrupted, right? Hence, things like deforestation is a thing, right? Right? You know, let's see, cattle, livestock, corn, plants along the lines of that, agriculture, right? Sometimes that stuff is the previous things that were native to that area are removed, so quote unquote a farmland can be built, right? So it's that trade-off, right? I mean, I would like to have it so, less more people have access to food, but that stuff has to be grown somewhere, right? That area has to be some sort of land or area has to be used for that, right? And of course, things like vertical gardening, is a useful thing, right? Speaking of gardening, why not? All right. I think this is why I've started to do the gardening thing. All right, it's starting to go down a little in terms of thing, but I'm not even. I gotta tilt this in though. See what? Real on that. See? Look at that. I still have this going. Actually, you know what? I'll set this in the sun temporarily. I really hope it doesn't. Oh, I better make sure it doesn't fall over. I don't think that's how I want to start the day by my sunflower falling over and hitting my camera and knocking my camera down and all that stuff. But yeah, all right. Gardening, all right. Start gardening, all right. Help the environment, help your preparedness through gardening as much as possible, right? Grow things locally as much as possible, right? Shorten that what's the word I'm looking for? Not transportation. The I can't remember what insert word. I'm coming to mind. I don't know why it's not coming to mind, but yeah. Shorten the supply chain. Yeah, shorten your supply chain a little bit more if you can, right? Right. Go grow some plants out there, right? Right. Have the plants pull some of that CO2, right? Right. And sequester it into the ground, right? And instead of I'm gonna remove this plant and put it into this quote unquote green bin thing that suburban areas and stuff have, which is I'm not saying it's a bad thing, right? but that stuff has to be transported to a facility for it to happen, right? And it doesn't help, in my opinion, right? If you have to, you have to. Shipping it all the way over here and going back to a store or whatever to pick up fertilizer. Why not just use what you have to doing it, right? Maybe save some money in the process, right? Hence something like composting or whatever, right? Like I know Garden Girl's here, right? I mean, she's seen that other video that I did, right? You left me a comment about, reminds you of the Lomi, right? I've seen that product out there. I've seen people showing it. I've never had it or whatever, right? But they're just trying to get that more accessible to people, right? All right. Unfortunately, there's a price tag and monetary things, but you know, it could help, and of course, it uses quote unquote electricity. But if that electricity came from a green source, then maybe it would be a little bit better. All right. Welcome back, Dale. Thank you. Thank you. I feel like I just missed something out there. But the people just don't want to do what's best. Many out our own. Well, it's not always like that, but having that option available in the first place, right? Right. I, try, and I say try to buy things that you can, if you have to spend this X amount of money, right, for X thing about resources, and maybe it's got plastic inside, maybe it's got metals inside glass or whatever, right? Try to make that product resource go stretch as long as possible. So maybe it's clothing all the way to the latest electric gadget, right? I mean, for everyone that doesn't know, I had a desktop that, well, I had issues with the video card in it, right? Yeah, I get it. For them to be like, hey, Sierra, it's got metals in it. There's probably fabs in there, plastic in there, right? Steel in there. Okay, right? It had to be manufactured, obviously, right? Had to be produced, right? But I also made that go for like 12 years. That's a long stretch of time, right? So I made that resource go and go and go. It provided me not only the content and some entertainment and some other things and be able to watch stuff, but I made that go for a long time. So let's just say I spent $1,000 on that system or whatever for an easy number to work with, right? 12 years. I probably paid like, $1 a month over the course of 12 years, right? So, I made it worth it in the long run, right? Well, depending, I still have it, but I'll see what I can do with it. I'll see if I can reuse it, if I can get it back into a working state as much as possible, right? And this is why people that go out there and do scrapping, right? Like metal scrapping, all that stuff. They're helping. Now I know generally they do it for the financial gains of it, right? Scrapping copper, silver, gold, etc., right? But they're also helping the planet or world too, because those resources get reused, recovered with a CR in it, and circulate back into the system back in again, right? Steel, copper, right? And quote unquote less of it, however less of it, has to be produced from, has to be mined, right? Or quote unquote virgin material. You see that? If you got donations without a way to be proud. Oh, well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't girl. It's dehydrated, so that's why I decided to try that without that yet and see how well it works first, right? And besides, I don't have $400 or $500 US to drop on that for that right now, right? I don't. If I had more money or whatever, maybe, but you know, and like I said, they're trying to do something good, but I also realize, not everyone can drop $400 or $500 on something like that. For example, right? They have this like you can return it and it'll get recycled or reused or whatever. Well, who knows, right? Who knows, right? Or companies out there that say, "Oh, this is made from percentage of recycled materials or recovered materials." Well, what was the original material, right? Right? Like some of these on the fast fashion side. I've seen videos on it. I've seen videos on this, right? Because I know, because I've seen this video from Marketplace on it recently about that, right? You know, it's not always, oh, it's 70% reclaimed, re recovered material, plastic or whatever, right? Is that coming from clothes? Probably not. It's probably coming from like a bottle, right? Plastic bottle, PET, number one plastic, right? Because as because it's very hard and labor intensive to bring an article of clothing, okay, maybe not quite like this, back into a useful state, right? It's one thing for me to do something like this, but to change this back into something like a glove or a mitt or a sock or a t-shirt, maybe more tricky. And of course, things like color, for example, may have to be changed. So dyes have to be used and such, right? So it's, in my opinion, probably better to try to reuse that locally as much as possible, right? If you don't have to buy it, don't need it right now, consider it, right? But if you do, right, I get it, right? And such, right? This is why lately I've been asking people, really, like, I got plenty of clothes, guys. Like, I got plenty of socks or whatever, right? You know, I rather get something that I can use and put to use right away, right? Instead of something like, oh, here's another X item that I'm probably not gonna use much of, right? Like, I appreciate when people do the gifts or whatever. Don't get me wrong, right? But sometimes, to be frank with them, I'm like, I just feel like I'll get more use out of this, for example, right? Like, I was gifted back a couple 2019, 2018, around there. Someone gifted me a drone, right? It was actually a $50 drone, right? Two things. I was just like, oh yeah, this would be cool. I can make video or whatever, drone footage or whatever, right? You know, as a content creator, I'm like, yeah, yeah. But then I look at it, I'm like, 5 minutes of runtime, 2 hours to recharge, right? I'm like, am I really gonna get a lot of benefit out of that, enjoyment through that resource, right? Right. So I told them, I'm like, I appreciate it, but I think I would get more enjoyment through something else, right? So they exchanged it for a gift card, and from that gift card, I got other things out of it, such as my wife's space blanket, which I don't have a really close example of as it's in the room, but all right, coffee, all right. What else did I get out of it? A few other things, right? So I got more enjoyment out of those items than for the drone. Like it would be nice, but I was looking at it. I'm like, you know what? I think I'll get more enjoyment out of this, right? And at the end of the day, these gifts that you do give someone, right? Christmas is coming around the corner here. I guess I could talk about it because Halloween's over, like yesterday, right? Try to give them something that they can use right away and get enjoyment out of it and use frequently, right? Not just something that they'll use once in a blue moon outside of a special event, right? I get certain things like a suit or whatever for a special event or whatever, right? I get that. But or funeral or anything, wedding or anything like that. I get that, right? There's a reason for that. I get that, right? But like, is this person really gonna enjoy having their t-shirt? Or is it just them sitting in the closet in the back? That's something to think about. What's up, King Booba? Take care, Iron Fire Horse. What's up, Gil? That's another thing about food. Try not to waste food too, right? there's, all right. Try not to waste food, all right? Try to use it the best that you can, all right? Get the most out of it, all right? Because the thing about food, right? I mean, I get it if there's mold on it or whatever, but try to consume it before that, right? Extend the shelf life on it, metaphorically speaking, like preserving, right? Canning, dehydrating, freeze drying, right? If you have access to the gear, the stuff, right? And all that stuff, right? Try to do stuff like that. Obviously, freezing can be an option too, but because you gotta remember, food that gets wasted is that energy source, like literally energy source for us or whatever, or animals or whatever, gets wasted. And remember all that stuff that goes along with the food production, right? Regardless if it's plant or animal, right? There is inputs into that system, right? Fertilizer, water, the time, right? The people power, the machinery that went involved into that, right? All that stuff, right? From being either handpicked to a tractor to all the stuff, right? So try to, and I say try to not waste food. As a person that likes to eat, I try not to waste food as much as possible. As much as possible. Am I perfect at it? No, far from it. But I try as much as possible. Alright. Not 100%, but at least to that 98.6% of the time I will. As much as possible. Yeah, I get that too. It's Am I missing something in here? That's interesting. That's interesting. I know who gonna go. Yeah, I have a fellow YouTuber and friend that does scrapping, so I've seen his stuff, right, and stuff like that. So to a certain degree, it does help. Like I said, hey, better than getting landfilled or incinerated, right? Especially if certain resources like copper, gold, silver, steel can be reclaimed and reused again and brought in back into that cycle of things, right? To make something useful again. I'm down for that as much as possible. That just means that less of it has to be mined in the long term, right? In my opinion. Okay. Oh yeah. I've heard about this too, King Poopa. Yeah, I heard about that too. Unfortunately, I think it's because of like things like theft and stuff like that, right? They just want to make sure it's quote unquote not stolen from, a construction site, you know, right? They're making sure or whatever, right? Or from a quote unquote a chop shop or whatever. All this stuff, right? Yeah, I figured that much too. Mm. Yeah, that sucks, King Pooba. Right? And I know that this whole recycling system's broken, right? Actually, it's the plastic part. Cardboard, paper, metals like aluminum, such as cans, for pop cans, pop cans, beer cans, and all whatever, are still viable. There's still something along the lines of that, right? I mean, I don't have the cans nearby because they're in there, they're not inside right now, but you know, they still have some value to them, right? This is why. This is why. One of the reasons why, when I was showing this, I know Gil's in here, Idaho Garden Girl, and some other people, whoever hasn't seen that video, right? This is why when I showed the peanut butter jar cleaning it out, right? I didn't use anything new. No specialty tools, right? Hell, I even used less water because I showed it during the winter time, right? I was using snow, gray water, right? Because I just had to rinse it. And like I said in that video, right? In the final steps of it, right? That's where I would use clean water, right? So basically, I rinsed it with gray water, snow, and then I cleaned it up with fresh water at the end. I didn't need to extensively use clean water to start with, right? Because the water would have got dirty instantly, just because the nature of doing this, right? And for the things that I've used to wipe with, right? Like, I'll show something right here. Show something right here. All right. Look. This. 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 Oh. I guess it would help if I actually, like, hide the comment temporarily, right? For anyone that hasn't seen that video, yeah. I didn't just do it for the video. I actually keep doing it. All right. And those were all right. Bring this stuff back into a useful state. Oh, look, I'm not even joking, right? All right. The layers have been separated. But this cardboard's gonna get put back into useful state as much as possible, right? It doesn't even take that much time, right? I could be doing it while watching a video, watching a show, or whatever, right? And multitasking it, right? For example. Yeah, okay. I agree with you, people, Dustin. I agree with you, right? Right? Look at I mean, like, for anyone that hasn't seen that PPE pollution video that I shot back in 20, was it 2020? No, I think it was 2021 or the end of 2020. All right. Look at all that stuff, and it still litters the environment, right? To this day, still. All right. I still see them outside all the time, all the time. I try to do what I can, but sometimes I'm in a rush or in a vehicle or whatever, right? And of course, I don't technically want to handle it with bare hands. Hence, when I showed it using a stick that I found off the landscape, right? Doing it like that, right? You know, or I'm using a stick to pick it up, right? Or something like that. And a lot of the time, when I see it, it's just like, really, the garbage bin's only like 2 feet away. And I get wind blows it over the place or whatever, right? And that's always gonna be a continuous thing that keeps happening. But I mean, like, seriously, in my opinion. Yeah. Well, it's not just that. It's either that or either landfill or incinerated, right? And that's the thing, right? All that stuff takes up space, right? There's places out there, maybe not necessarily first world places, right? Maybe not necessarily here in Canada, in the US, here on the North American continent, or on European or whatever, right? There's some places out there that it's huge. I supposedly there is a place down in South America. It's so big. Supposedly it could be seen from space. Isn't that crazy? When you think about it like that. You always think about like, oh, what can you see from space, right? The Great Wall or whatever, all right? Now we're able to quote unquote see a pile of space. Like literally, it's that big. It's so imagine that being able to see something from space, the object or whatever it is, has to be huge, widespread, huge amount of surface area, right? And stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying all of it, but some of it could have been reused in some form or fashion, right? Somehow, some form or fashion could have been reused as much as possible, right? So, something to keep in mind. My own greeting cards? Wow. I don't know about that, but, you know, if I don't do that, I might as well just say it to them in person, right? Old school, right? Telling people in person, right? As much as possible to people, right? So they can not just see words, right? But they can hear it from me. I get there's supposed to be this thing, you put up green cards, you put them on your shelf or whatever to display them, right? But I get that, but that only goes for so long, right? You know, let's say a Christmas card or whatever. I mean, like you're not gonna have that past February or March, right? Then what? Okay, then what? Right? But maybe you could reuse it for different reasons, depending on what your reasoning is and what you have access to or need the resource to do for you. Mm, mm. All right, King Puma, yeah. And that's another thing about shipping, especially on ships, right? Things happen, right? Things happen, right? There's things called storms, right? There's things called, uh, yeah, storms out there, right? Uh, in terms of this kind of like stuff out there that's on the ocean, right? the what's that called? The Pacific garbage patch around these gyros everywhere. I think there's like 4 or 5 or whatever, right? You know, we can clean them up or whatever. We can reduce or whatever, right? But we gotta remember how many of these resources came from the land and ended up in the water. Not because of what we did, quote unquote, we did, right? Like someone tossing it. Sometimes, unfortunately, things like storms, hurricanes, tsunamis. Looking at, you see that footage at times, right? Washes in, washes it back out, right? So, I mean, you gotta think about it like that too, right? Stuff like that's happening too. Yeah, the Pacific gyro. All right, let's check in on my phone here. See, my cup. I've had this for so long. I've had this for so long. Oh. Yeah, I get it. I know where I'm gonna go. So yeah, keep doing what you can. I mean, like, I've shown this before in the seed video, which somehow did really well, right? There's a piece of mesh that came from something, right? This actually came from a promotional item, right? It wasn't that great or whatever, right? Now that this promotional item was already manufactured, so I can't stop that, right? But instead of the end of life, in the landfill or whatever, I decided to reuse this so I can dry some seeds off of. All right, put some seeds on it, so allow airflow to go through it. I mean, like I have an example right here, right there, as you can see. See how I snuck in that pun right there for you. You know me. So I was just looking at a way. So instead of using, let's say this example where I've seen, use the paper towel or whatever, right? I'm gonna reuse something and use something that's reusable and save that paper towel for when I really need it, tissue or whatever, when I really, really need it, like when I'm sick, I don't want to spread something like that. Instead of putting the seeds on a paper towel, then picking it off and then potentially ripping it and or whatever, I'm gonna use this plastic nylon mesh, right? It works quite well. In theory, providing I don't poke a bunch of holes, rip it or whatever, I should be able to use that for long periods of time. Like basically, all I do is just wash it after the fact. It air dries very fast because there's a bunch of holes in it, right? So air can get into it and just dries out, and I can use it for probably the rest of the decade, at least, right? So yeah. Oh, so this is why. If I wasn't actually be doing this live stream, I probably would have done another resource haul video. But for anyone that hasn't seen my resource haul type of videos, I know some of you out there have seen them, right? That's example of, generally for anyone that hasn't seen those videos, I say in the beginning, these are they're items that I find off the landscape or been given for free. So found off the landscape, right? I mean, here's a zip tie right here that I found off the landscape. And look at this. It wasn't even per se quote unquote used, right? It might have been connected. Let's just say connected, but I just undone the clasp on it, right? So again, instead this resource is deteriorating to a point where it's not useful anymore, I'm gonna put it back into useful state as much as possible. I mean, I have other examples that I may or may not show right now of other things I found off the landscape that are still it can still be in a useful state. Just has to be back in the hands of people that need it or would want to use it. You know, there's a lot of things out there that I've seen, right? I mean, like I said about the rechargeable battery that I showed earlier, which I'll show again, right? I'm trying to charge it too, by the way, right? Yeah, look at that. My camera won't focus, but 1500 milliamp. It's clouded over a little bit ago. Oh, and now let's turn these on. So yeah, you know, it's something I found. So for people that wonder where some of this ideas come from, well, now you know where. Now you know where that resource hole type of content is coming from. Why I do it in the first place, right? Like I said, I've seen so many things out there on time. Unfortunately, I'm only one person, but a lot more of us people out there quite try. I say try to do a little bit more. It might help in the long run. Right? And lead by example, right? And lead by example, right? Because you don't need to go quote unquote block the path for people to see the path forward. Sometimes you create or clear the path forward so people can see it in the distance and go forward through it. Metaphorically speaking. I just came up with that, by the way. So, yeah. I think I may have one more example here. I'm pretty sure my headset battery's dipping down a little here. So yeah, there is other things that I've been working on. I'll kind of go with this theme that I have on this PREP type of stream here. As much as possible. Oh, by the way, everyone. For anyone that hasn't seen this quote-unquote survival kit that I put together with stuff found off the landscape or whatever, right? Which I called the Urban Garbage Survival Kit. I did that long time ago, right? Alright. And I've seen other people doing that gave me VRs for it, right? I appreciate the people that did VRs for that, right? I mean, that's just something I did a long time ago. Back early stages of the channel, right? This is back when I didn't even have 500 followers here on the channel yet, right? Or whatever, right? Kind of good response at that, right? But I've decided to bring that back in a certain way, which is in the works right now. I'm working on it. I'm working on that. There is another video in the works. I've been working on it ever since I've shown the previous how it was, or the stock items of that video. So stay tuned for that because you might find that interesting. And the thing is, but Singular, can't you just throw money at it? Well, yeah, okay, anyone can throw money at something, but sometimes throwing money isn't always not solving everything, right? Because I'm gonna show doing this on a budget, supposedly on a budget with less, right? Because right now, with things like inflation or whatever, right? Not all of us can just fork over something specifically in terms of gear. I'm not talking about food and water, okay? So sometimes you gotta do with what you have, or what you can find out the landscape, or what you can acquire for relatively for free or relatively cheaply, right? You know, and maybe it's a way so you can reallocate some of those funds towards something like food or water, or something more high end, that's a higher end item that's made well, that providing you take care of it or whatever, and all this stuff, and doesn't catch on fire or whatever, right? Or it gets stained or whatever, then you can make it keep going for a long period of time, right? As much as possible. So I think I will probably go for another, let's say, 10, 15 minutes, give or take. I probably won't go too much longer. I know people have things to do, amongst other things, but I do appreciate everyone that came by to watch this and to hear me out and such. Yeah. Oh, by the way, secret coffee. It's not gonna get reused too. I just don't go. Well, not right now, but relatively shortly, I'll go broadcast it out there, all right, into the garden, all right. So instead of having a vehicle per se pick it up or whatever and brought it to a facility, I'm gonna spread it out locally, all right, as much as possible, and just broadcast that out, like I said, out to like natural, not natural area, but like a garden area and stuff like that, amongst some other things. So this resource, such as coffee grounds, will get used, right? And not just end up at a facility or in a landfill, as much as possible, right? Try to keep doing that. Oh yeah. I don't. Predator veteran. I've seen the videos out there. Right? From tires getting reused to make sandals or slippers or whatever, right? I've seen those videos, right? That's good on them, right? This potential waste resource, and they're reusing it to make something useful again. And if you think about it, they're making it into clothing. I say clothing because shoes or whatever count as clothing or whatever, right? Into useful thing, right? And also clothing is important for survival to a certain degree too, right? It's your first line of defense or protection, right? I mean, I could see people getting ideas from that and elaborating on that and doing more with that. I mean, if I had access to the material, I probably would try stuff just to see, right? And that's why I've been trying to reuse some of this waste material as much as possible, right? As much as possible for what I have. I mean, sometimes it's not always that it's hard to do. Sometimes it's the time, or you need enough of the resource to create something, right? Sometimes you need quite a bit of it to get a substantial amount to make something out of. I mean, look at for anyone out there that's watching, right? Like, if you go search online and look at these things that people make from plastic, right? There's so many videos out there, right? So many videos out there. I've made a few minor things, which is say small scale things, right? But some people out there have made furniture out of this stuff, whole tables out of this stuff, right? Reclaimed #2 plastic, high density polyethylene, HDPE plastic, right? I mean, they've shown, it's possible. Granted, there's still some issues with it, but or whatever. But they put it back into a useful state, kept that resource cycling into the system more, right? As much as possible, right? But also, making a table or a chair, you need quite a bit of it, right? You have to gather enough of it. It needs to be cleaned, processed, probably heated up, melted together, fused, bonded together, and all that stuff. Almost like, like welding, right? And put together back in the useful state. Yeah, I agree with that for this venture on that one comment. Well, I agree with that too. I will go, yeah. Yeah. Speak of the clothing thing, right? And I'll say this because I'm gonna quote something from another channel. Her name's Emma, by the way. I've watched her content. I haven't subscribed in yet, but I'm always tempted more and more lately to subscribe in, right? Because technically it's a bigger channel, but I watch much of her content. But she's mentioned that about clothing thing, about donating clothes, right? For the most part, I say for the most part, if you donate your old high school T-shirt or whatever to a thrift store, they're probably not gonna be able to resell that because no one wants to walk around with someone else's high school jersey or shirt that they didn't even attend. Relatively speaking, right? Now, with that said, you might get someone. It might be lucky and it's 100% cotton, and someone wants to change it into a rag or make charcoal out of it. Okay, but still, that kind of stuff could be reused locally. I say locally as in at home or in the community, right? Or whatever, right? Or given to maybe someone that's on the streets homeless or whatever, or whatever, right? I mean, you know, that appearance thing, right? It's just like fruits, vegetables, produce, right? You know, things that have imperfections in it are harder to sell, unfortunately, right? Look at the produce out there. Apples, oranges, whatever, right? Bananas, whatever, all that stuff. Weird shaped things, right? Clothes that have stains on it. I mean, well, if if thrift shops or whatever or secondhand stores receive them, they're probably not gonna be able to resell that, right? Remember, these places that you donate, it's not to give your garbage or trash items to. They're trying to resell it to someone else and make a profit so they can keep their store open, pay the employees, pay for the electricity, the lighting in the store in the first place, the property tax, and all that stuff, right? They probably receive. I mean, I've walked by some of these places or whatever. I've seen. Oh, my head's dying, so I probably won't go that much more. But if you think about it, they receive so much stuff, right? I mean, they probably have a huge overhead of merchandise, right? And of course, floor space is a premium, right? They can't just have stuff stacked in the back for long periods of time. Eventually, they need to it needs to be dwindled or lessened. Yeah, lessened, reduced, right? Because they're always receiving more stuff, right? Those donation bins fill up, right? So, when possible, I say when possible, try to donate it to a church, right? And hopefully, I say hopefully, because you can't guarantee anything, especially if you don't see it happening with your own eyes or hear about it. Hopefully, it would get gifted or donated to someone that needs said item. For example, here, I have an example right here. Well, I don't have it because I already donated to someone, but I had a jacket I couldn't wear anymore. Too small for me, right? And yes, it was in good working condition. The zippers were pretty good on it because I think they were YKK type of zippers, right? It was made here in Canada. I believe, right? One of those puffy jackets or whatever, right? I mean, I could have gave it to a secondhand store, but you know what I did instead? I gave it to fr friends that I just met, so they can use it, right? Because it was too small for me, but it could fit their family or smaller family members, let's just say, right? And and to me, that meant more than just if I gave it to like a first store or whatever. Because I know that they can use it. It's gonna help them out. They don't have to necessarily buy a new jacket right away. It's still relatively in style. I say relatively, right? There was no holes in it, right? So they're saving money. I'm reducing what I have here in terms of like stuff, right? Because space is a premium. They don't have to buy a new one. The resource gets reused. And what I said to them was like, if they outgrow, if you outgrow it or whatever, if it's still good, zippers or whatever still work, no rips and tears, go give it to another family, right? Keep quote unquote this jacket, keep it cycling, right? Because the moment, I mean, it's not like there was a smell or stains on there, right? It's still good working condition, so that's why I told them, right? So I gave them like free jackets, right? Well, free pairs of jackets, right? And so, and to me, that's better than even reusing because I'll reuse something if it's in a damaged state or, you know, not in a useful state, but I'm not gonna quote unquote, you know, pull materials out of something that's working just to reuse it again for something else. I don't like doing it like that. I don't like to reuse something that's actually still useful, relatively speaking, right? And I rather use things that are not in a useful state back in a useful state. Because to me, that means that's something more, in my opinion. Yeah, throwaway society, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that too, Idaho Garden, yeah. Throwaway society, yeah. Make do and mend attitude. Okay. It's in your bones. It's Idaho Garden Girl. It's part of your DNA. It's in your blood. It's in your bones. Yeah, yeah. Because then, yeah. So I'll probably go to the bottom. Yeah, I'm just gonna go to the bottom of that or 7 more minutes because I know my headset. I've lost the right side on the headset, and yeah. So I'll go for another about 7 more minutes here. I appreciate everyone dropping by here and hearing me out. Maybe I ranted just a tad, but I just wanted to say this. And apparently, I got a notification from someone. I wonder why they're not in my stream right now. That's so good. I would laugh if they show up right now. It'd be hilarious. Yeah. I'm trying to make an acronym for that. Idaho Girl. A cool acronym. Alright. And regain that knowledge, that skill of reusing, making mending, right? Making do with, right? Reusing the resources, right? Right? As much as possible. And not just pass the problem to someone else, right? Right. Because that's not the solution, just to pass the problem to someone else, right? Because you know what happens? It's just gonna get passed back to you again, right? And then what, right? Basically, spinning the problem around to the next person, or next country, or next continent, or whatever. Eventually, it'll come back. The problem will come back, and we're just gonna be back at square one again. right? What's the point in going around the bush? I was gonna use another word, but you know what I mean? Going around the bush, yeah. What's the point in that? That's not solving anything, right? In my opinion, we need solutions that help people out, right? Maybe even help the environment out at the same time, right? Especially if both things are happening, right? For example, here, right? For anyone that does or gathers, let's see, picks, gathers, let's say deposit, and I say deposit, I mean cans, bottles, all this other stuff, right? And I still do it, by the way. I still enjoy doing it. You know, I've always said to many people out there, it's not just about that kind of money that you can get for deposit, right? It's also, hey, this stuff doesn't end up in landfill, cans, aluminum, all that stuff, right? The plastic, to a certain degree, gets at least downcycled, anyways, right? The cans get recycled to a certain degree, right? But in terms of preparedness, hey, now I got this extra little bit of income or whatever it is, how much it is, to buy that can of beans, extra bag of rice, right? So that's why I keep doing it because so many benefits to it, and it's helping quote unquote the environment. It's a resource that I'm reusing or it will get reused, hopefully, right? And it's helping my preparedness side in terms of, hey, now I can $5 I can go get a can of food or whatever it is, a loaf of bread, whatever, something like that. Right? Right? You keep all right. Because as long as there's drinks out there, sports drinks, soda or whatever, there's gonna be cans and bottles and all that stuff. Just how it is for now, right? Even if it all turned in became glass and aluminum, well, that's still gonna be out there. So I guess as long as there's something, an activity or whatever, or sports activity or whatever, or water or bottled water, there's gonna be a container, right, with a CR in it, all right. So I figured I might as well reuse that stuff as much as possible. If we didn't believe the same way, we'd probably be left with it. Would have let this discussion. Okay, yeah, okay, I get I don't girl. Yeah, yeah, I see Dale. You do what you can, right? Right. Try to keep it going, right? Like ultimately to sustain what we have today or what we can have, it is the way forward. It is the way. I feel like I'm using I'm not trying to force that, but I am using the yeah. 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 I'm trying to quote something but not get dinged for saying it. But this is the way forward, right? So I appreciate everyone taking the time to drop in here. I know Garden Girl, especially preparedness veteran, or people that came by, Dale, Julie, Campaign Family Compound, Farmer Sun Prepping, FSB, Garden State Gardener, obviously Joe came by, Grow TV, Growing TV, Grow TV, Grow Big TV. Yeah, I'm just a working guy. King Poopa, yeah, you guys, you people out there, right, are important too, right? Keep keep doing what you can, right? Be proactive, right? You know, enjoy life too, right? Enjoy life too. Don't give it all right. Do stuff like be proactive and do this stuff, right? But enjoy life too, right? Keep keep your spirits up, right? knowing what you guys are doing out there or have been doing out there motivates my spirit within my core to keep going here, to keep going, to keep doing these things, as another channel would say, right? Keep doing the things, as she would say, right? And remember, everyone. Well, before I even say that, apparently I have to see what Idaho Garden Girl's saying here. Oh, okay, Idaho Girl. I see. See that comment in there. Just don't turn off my camera here. I've had my phone plugged in this whole time. Come on. Work with me here, bro. Come on, work with me here. Alright. They throw the soul cancel out the Boy Scouts. Oh, okay. So yeah, so like I said, I appreciate everyone rocking by. You guys, you people are awesome, right? You know, like I said, I may not always share the same opinion or agree with everything you all say. However, there is some common ground, whatever it is, right? And like I said earlier, you know, I don't totally agree with these blocking the path movements, to say, but I get why they're doing it, right? But with that said, sometimes to change stuff out there, you gotta lead by example. Take the high road whenever possible. And do something more out there to create a better future starting today. As in make our reality effective. More. I came up with that acronym, by the way, right? Because I hope that we can. And have optimistic people everywhere. As much as possible. Maybe bring in something. So everyone, I'm actually gonna bring in this specific. So go out there, help our world out, and adapt to it. How come it's not showing? I don't know why my outro's not showing, but anyways, go out there and create a better future starting today, and adapt to what's going on out there in the world. Increase your skill and knowledge. Hell, increase your resilience out there, right? Use those resources effectively as much as possible. Lead by example. We can't help everyone out there, unfortunately. But let's go try to help more people out there. From your neighbor, to the person across the street, to your friends, to your family, right? And lead by example, right? Help people out. Lead the way forward through the darkness with light. And with that, take care, everyone. I appreciate everyone dropping by. All the comments, the views, and all that stuff. I appreciate it. Down to the core of CR. And take care, everyone. See y'all.